And today's data, or today's demo, excuse me, will actually be based on mostly on the Foursquare products, the places and visits. This is 130 million different points of interest, 200 something countries, a lot of different categories of POIs, and then of course the visit data from individuals. By the numbers, this will just give you a sense of the broadness of the Foursquare data set. And you can really understand a lot of foot traffic and different point of interest off these data sets, and it'll allow you to make really intelligent decisions about your business. But the key is being able to quickly tap in and do analysis and combine this data with other third-party data sets, and just as importantly, first-party data. Ultimately, the demo today, again, we're going to directly from Foursquare market share, along with actually, like I said, our first party data, and additionally a flood zoning data set that's out on AWS. And then we're going to be exposing that for instant live access from Excel, Tableau, Power BI, using Data Robot, and everybody is reading from the AtScale model. They're all doing it immediately without doing any data engineering. And ultimately, they're feeding back so these different groups can work off each other's insights. All right, so with that, I'm gonna go ahead and jump over to the demonstration now. So real quickly, I'm gonna skip over here. So I'm showing you in Power BI right now. The important thing is that you don't have to look at this, but when I've logged into the AtScale semantic model, this has already been done all for you in AtScale. So, again, it's not really important to look at this, but from day one, the moment you log in, on the right-hand side here, you're going to see all your different measurements. So your different flood zone measurements, your places measurements, quantitative values. You're going to see all the data that you can slice and dice by. You're going to see your product information, your customer information from Salesforce. Of course, things like geo and time. All this behind the scenes is a model that AtScale's put together. And this is just Power BI able to tap in and render it. But the point here is that typically there's a lot that goes into bringing these data sets together, a lot of data engineering and a lot of time. AtScale does all that automatically. And so when you log in, you have a nice empty canvas. You never have to do any data engineering. You simply have all your different quantitative values. You can call them measures, you can call them KPIs, so on and so forth. And then you have all your different, categorical type of information that you can slice and dice by. And this is mashed up with Foursquare, it's mashed up with zoning data, it's mashed up with first-party Salesforce data, and you can immediately go off and do analysis. The things that I thought we could do is, imagine for a second, if my first-party data set, if I'm a bike store, and I wanted to do some analysis to determine where should I open up another bike store, or sales in the right place for me to do that. And if I decide to do that, should I look at the foot traffic in a particular area, maybe try to predict if there's going to be, increase in foot traffic, and then decide if I'm going to open a store. And then ultimately, I may contact someone in the insurance industry to get a quote. And as a risk analyst, I may go in and do some analysis on the Foursquare data, maybe some flooding data, to try to understand the risk associated with opening a store in a particular area. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off in the persona of the CFO or the finance business unit. And, as I tap into the AtScale model here, again, you'll see a similarity. So side is this semantic model from AtScale. There is no engineering that needs to be done. And what I've done is I've gone into my sales data. So this is directly coming from Salesforce. And I've gone out and grabbed my total amount of sales. And I've basically sliced and diced that by my time dimension here. And you can look over here on the right-hand side, and I've built a pivot table. And I've started taking a look at sales. And as you can see, it's just real quickly, I could break this down by other areas. Generally speaking, I'm seeing an uptick in sales and, towards the end of 2019 here. And so, I think it's probably a good idea, as I factored out 2020, because we understand a little bit of craziness going on, that it's a good time with everything opening and my sales were already heading in the right direction to open up another store. And as a CEO, I may be using something other than Excel. I may be using Tableau, for example. And so as a CEO, I'm going to have a different. Currently, most of my stores are in California, and I can see that here. So I can zoom back out and take a look at, the entire country and run queries. But again, this is reading directly from, the semantic model of AtScale. And it's the same semantic model that you see here in Excel that you're seeing in Tableau. And, for example, if I come over here into a particular report, see if my computer can catch up with me here. You look over here on the left-hand side, and again, the entire semantic model is already here. So as a Tableau user, I never had to come in a data source. I never had to do any data engineering. It's just for me immediately. And I can start dragging and dropping different quantitative values, and I can build different reports, and I can build different dashboards that I can expose. And again, as a CEO, this may be the data I'm looking at. I see that I have sales mostly on the West Coast. I can drill into a particular state, which is California, which I'm really interested in. And I'm going to go ahead and opening up something down here in the Southwest, and you can look out in this particular area right here where we don't currently have a store. As I do some analysis, that is actually the area, and I'm going to switch back here, is Carpinteria, California. And there's a lot of really great bikes, trails, I can go through here and check it out. And so I've decided, that I want to take a look at. So then at that point, I'm going to look over at my data scientists and say, why don't you go do some analysis, make sure that, this is the right place and the foot traffic is going to be right for us in our particular area where we're going to open up. And so as I do that, I'm going to go ahead and jump back over to a Jupyter notebook. And again, I'm going to consume the entire semantic model. And then again, here's those semantics. So now I've seen them in Excel, I've seen them in Tableau, I'm seeing them now in Python, and no data engineering. And as you see me go through this notebook and do my, you'll notice no SQL, no data engineering, no transformations, because the data is analysis ready. And so as a data scientist, I'll probably go through and do some feature engineering, and again, I'm going to, take a look at, different areas of risk for floods myself, because, I'm interested in where things may be impactful. I'm going to do some more analysis, basically on our sales data and understand, actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to start doing some analysis on Foursquare data. And as I do that, I'm going to start to zoom in and notice that in that particular area, restaurants have the most visits. And then I'm going to look at average dwell time. So restaurants and volcanoes are interesting enough. Scroll down, I'm going to start to really zoom in on this particular area of the state and look at data there. And so here I'm looking at total visits and dwell time, and I'm starting to look at daily visits over time. And you can see again in the month of February for 2021. We have kind of an interesting pattern here, but, things are increasing. And, and I think as things get back to normal, we're seeing that increase. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually average visits by categories. And I can see that, most people are starting to go back out and hit restaurants. Other people are hitting landmarks. So this is really good because, people are traditionally probably jumping on their bikes. We also see people getting back to sporting goods. I went and actually looked at the data. This was actually when all the high schools and junior sports started playing again. And so you can see a big spike there. So now that I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that Foursquare data, and I'm actually going to try to predict, foot traffic, and I'm going to check my model. So as I do that, I'm going to use, in this particular case, H2O. I'm going to spin up an AutoML, and what comes out of that is an actual prediction. And so as I compare, this is my before in categories, and then my prediction is here. And it's so I can overlay these two. I have a little bit of anomaly on my actual predictions, but I can see that those are pretty close in place. So now that I can actually run a model and try to predict and feel comfortable with my prediction. But again, as a data scientist, I never had to write a line of SQL. I never had to wait for someone to create me a SQL view. I never had to wait for an extract. I just could tap in from day one and start doing my analysis, and then try to open up a particular, and then, at that point, this is the right place to open up a store. So jumping over, at that point, it's probably good to understand risk and understand what your insurance. So again, you may be, working for an insurance company, and you may tap into a Power BI dashboard. In this particular case, there's no sales data here, because, obviously I'm not going to have access to sales data for a customer, but what I would have access to is the Foursquare data, to the zoning data that we brought in from AWS, and you can see, New Jersey's actually got it worse, but California is going to be impacted, and there's quite a bit of value at risk, and we can see that there's actually a dip coming up in 2035, but it's going to increase out to the 2045 date, and you can look at kind of risk, for the different areas here, and again, you can kind of break it down by the amount that's actually going to be impacted, and then you can make some decisions. And essentially, you're probably going to do this also within the insurance agencies, and they can be doing ad hoc analysis on the fly, trying to do the same type of analysis to understand how long are people spending at different restaurants, how many visits are there. The great thing about the Foursquare data is that it's very rich, so it gives you different types of elevations, so you can try to determine is it upstairs, is it on the second floor, are you going to be impacted by floods. The other great thing about the data set is you can also look around, do you have places like late night, different type of businesses open around where you're going to open up. You could also, one of the other great things is that there's actually links to pictures in there. So what I could do is I could actually drill down, find a link to a picture, and go look and say, well, what I found by the area that you're going to open up is, there's actually a Rincon brewery that's about to open up in that particular area. And I can actually look at the place, understand if there's additional risk, are there wires laying all around? And again, no data engineering was required. I was able to tap into the model and start to combine these data sets. And so again, just kind of going back to the main slide here, is that this is really about analysis ready data. And AtScale can make sets like Foursquare or other data sets that you see on the Amazon marketplace analysis ready. And it means you can also combine those data sets, and you can combine them with your first party data like Salesforce or Marcato and HubSpot, and do analysis without ever doing any data engineering. We would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, please let us know and send us an email. And thank you very much for your time.